Hey, this is Rumble,
And the Gazoo.
and we're here to talk sports better than you. And tonight we are looking at episode 8, I believe.
7 or 8.
And, yeah, I
I've
think we're
lost
looking
count.
at 8 right now. And we're a few days removed from the 2020 NBA Finals. And we were talking off camera. And I want to talk about Celtics last because I want to save what I feel is an interesting story, other than the Red Sox, the best story in Boston. I believe the Bruins have a little bit we can talk about. The Gazoo disagrees with me. I think it's a lot to talk about when you're talking about moving prototypically one of the best forwards in franchise history. Uh, and that the team realistically has done nothing as far as coaching. Reached out to their coaching needs. So why not just talk a little bit about our own frustration on what is a huge staple, and that's Boston sports in our hearts and our minds. And but let's just lead it off with the Boston Red Hot Sox. Uh, if you listen to the Boston Sports Talk Radio, there's some people out there that are saying, don't take this, like oh my God, look, the Red Sox, they're taking off, they're doing it, and yeah, and jump aboard that crazy train. And I, for one, I don't look at it that way. I think with the way that they've expanded playoff baseball, that I think that you're going to look at baseball in certain towns the way you would look at football. The race for those wild cards, the race to get in the tournament. Now knowing it's not, you're one of four teams that makes that makes that wild card. Like, it's a very it just brings so much enthusiasm. It brings a lot of news, and I think baseball's done a good thing.
You there? Rumble. Rumble. Fans, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, Jason seems to have technical difficulties, and now here I am by myself. So we'll keep the show going until Jason can return. Um, so as Jason was talking about, we're going to lead off with the Red Hot Red Sox. A lot of people in this town have decided that the Red Sox are back. And I apologize. I'm just confirming that we are actually officially live and that you actually can officially see me. But so, there's optimism with the Boston Red Sox. Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a team that has won what they say, I believe, 13 of their last 17. They've beaten up the teams they should be beating up on. We're talking Detroit Tigers, Oakland Athletics, the the Angels of Anaheim. Are the Red Sox back to the form that would make them a division-winning caliber? I don't know. The playoff format used to be, and I think Jason was alluding to, only 4 teams made it.
Sorry about that. We experienced some technical difficulties.
All right, that's all right. I kept the show rolling. I'm talking about how kind of leading into what it sounded like, with today's current format of the playoffs, instead of it being only the top 4 teams make it, Now you have the opportunity to have up to 8 teams can make it. So
Yep.
the Red Sox do have the ability to continue their season, per se, into the postseason, especially now with this new format, given that they did have one of the worst starts in a long time in their, probably since I would say the Bobby Valentine era. I know they had a bad year with Ron Renicky, but I would say, all right, so Ron Renicky, I go back to that as the head coach. But I think that was kind of I hate to say it, I think that was a planned.
Without a doubt.
But yes, the Red Sox now with.
I think it's not only the Red Sox. I think it's more of what I'm trying to say to that. It's a baseball thing. There's so many other teams that right now were just like us 6 weeks ago, looking at the outside in, but the outside isn't so far away for a lot of those other teams right now. If you know what I mean.
No, I know. I do know what you mean.
I think there's a lot of teams that ordinarily that they're looking at the trade deadline and whether or not they're trading off or standing still because potentially they might be able to make that rush, which is a good thing for fan base.
I agree. What baseball did was great because we said this last week of the show. Mind you, I just want to point out we have to give the date as the time of this recording of our live show. It is June 23rd, 2022. We are officially into the dog days of summer with dog days of baseball, summer ball. But yes, you're right. It has. Listen, baseball needed to do this to try to make a comeback. Because let's be honest, baseball has not been the sport since the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire era. It really has. And I'm just gonna say, for the Red Sox, this, they started out terrible. Yeah, and I called them out for it. Are they hot right now? They, like I just said, they're beating up the teams that they should be beating up. The Tigers, the Angels, the Athletics. We'll see what this team's really.
And where are they right now? The people were really saying,
third place.
Yeah, they're not going to catch up with the likes of the Torontos and the Tampa's.
Anybody who said that's ridiculous, even I know that. They're not going to catch up with the Yankees. But Toronto notoriously starts hot and is in third or fourth place by the end of the season. Tampa Bay is a team that's been up and down these last couple of years. Some years they're hot, some years they're not. The Red Sox, usually have been good with the exception of the Ron Renicky year and the Bobby Valentine year, are usually in first place or in a wild card. With that said, though, you can't fault a fan like myself who saw what we saw for the better portion of 2.5 months. Yes, you know what you, and I'm going to say it flat out. I think what you had said the last couple of weeks about the spring training, maybe there could be something to that. I absolutely agree 100%. There could be something to that. But it still remains to be seen what happens with this team, especially when they go to the better teams, when they have to play the Yankees, when they have to play more of Tampa, when they have to play Houston more, because those are the teams that usually beat them up. At least this year so far have had their way with the Red Sox. And what do the Red Sox do at the trading deadline? Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to try to make a drastic deal? Are they going to try to bring in that big name? And then the other question is, and I heard it today on the radio, is are they going to go after the big names? Are they going to say enough's enough? All right, we've been under the luxury tax. We're just going to go spend the money.
I think it had, but there's a flip side to the big name. The only reason why they're saying getting quote unquote the big name is because if they're not able to retain one of two, that being Bogarts and or Devers.
Well, like the person said, so the name that was talked about today on the radio, and I know you heard it, was Shohei Ohtani, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he is probably one of the most unique players we've seen in 30 years.
Yeah.
You don't see two-way players.
Yeah.
You don't see that in baseball. But it's not just he's just a two-way player. He's a dominant hitter. He's a dominant fielder, and he's a decent pitcher. You know, I think that if he was smart, he'd put away the pitching and just concentrate on
Oh,
base.
he's coming off two of the most dominating stats in Major
Yeah,
League history.
but
I
but
disagree.
yeah, but you have to think that, and they said it on the radio today. He's twice as likely to get injured being a double,
I,
being a double. You know, being a
yeah, I agree, but I think his pitching right now.
yeah, but he's not a what I would call, he's not a true number one, and he's not a lights out pitcher. He's a good pitcher.
What?
Wrong. I don't think he's a lights out pitcher. I don't. He's not, dude. He's not Pedro Martinez. Come on. He's not Roger Clemens. He's not Pedro Martinez. Or Randy Johnson. That's a lights out pitcher.
He's only been in the league for 3 years, and he's closest thing they got to being a strikeout pitcher right now, being dominant.
I know, but to me, I see more of a. I see him. When I think of him, I think of him more of a Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux type of pitcher. When I think, not he's not a Pedro. And again, those guys break down quicker. Look at Schilling. Look at the problems that Clemens had with his back, Pedro with his arm, Schilling with his Schilling had back issues. I mean, look at Chris
Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux didn't throw 101 on a consistent basis, so I disagree. I disagree with that.
How does a guy that throws 101 needs 4 days to rest his body, right?
Yeah.
How's he doing that if he's walking on the field the next day? He's gonna burn himself out quick. Don't get me wrong. I'd sign him all day, but I would tell him, no, you're going to the bullpen. That you want to be a dominant pitcher, go to the bullpen. I wouldn't want him as a starter. I mean, yeah, and then you burn him out. Again, you want longevity, he's got to stop pitching or stop playing the field and just be a pitcher.
I think that he's just better off being a DH and a pitcher.
Could do that. I mean, yeah, he could. I mean, you could see a DH, but he's a good fielder.
I understand, but like you said, this is what I would say. I'm willing to give you the money because I love your bat, but either A, I take you as a fielder with the glove, or B, I take you as a pitcher.
So conversation,
but I'm willing to let you hit.
I want to piggyback off that conversation that happened on the radio today, because I'm sure you caught it roughly around the same time.
I listen all day.
So let me ask you the same question. If you had to pick between Aaron Judge or Xander Bogaerts, who you taking?
All right. Now, it has nothing to do, in my estimation, with Xander Bogaerts and or Devers. I believe the Aaron Judge thing comes off the whole fact of if you lose Devers or Bogaerts, you need to make a splash. And wouldn't the splash be great if Buster Olney, who leaked it out, that Aaron Judge would be willing to sign with the Red Sox? It was on MLB Network yesterday. It was on ESPN. Buster Olney broke the report, yada, yada, yada. I think it's very classic, yes, because you've had the Red Sox sign the top Yankee and the Yankees sign the top Red Sox over the years. The question I ask, or the question I think, what is the lineup better off with? What is right now, and I'm sorry to say, but you've been living under a rock because everybody is saying right now the best all-around hitter in the Major League Baseball is Rafael Devers. Do you let a guy that's 25 years old, do you let him go? Or do you let a guy who has basically been a backbone of the Red Sox, a guy Derek Jeter-esque, and do you let him go and sign a guy and make a splash? Or do you just say we don't need the splash because we're going to keep two people that are going to be hugely integral into the future and the tomorrow of the Boston Red Sox? That is what you're going to ask yourself. Aaron Judge, Don't get me wrong. They went over these things. The kid Milliken on 98.5. He's really good on the Red Sox. Right now, Aaron Judge has Devers in some nerd ass statistic by 300 by 30 points or something like that. That right there is a measure of something. Listen, I know Judge is batting three. His average is 307, 25 home runs, 52 RBIs. But Aaron Judge has been often beat up. The money you give him, he is going to be a DH within 2 to 3 years of that. He's not going to be theoretically your best outfielder. That's a crock of shit. He's not playing right field in
Is he
Fenway
worth
Park that
260?
aggressive. That aggressive.
Well, it's not about Devers. Today's radio conversation was Bogarts versus.
I understand what today's was,
That's
but
my
they were
question.
more they were a little bit more in depth on 98.5
That's my question.
at a different point, and they brought up the fact because Devers gets to become a free agent in basically 2 years. Devers camp broke talks off along with Bogarts. So if you lose out on one out of the two, and you really want to have the two because you can afford them, who would you rather
Do
see the
you pay
splash
right?
be for? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm asking.
Who would you rather if you're
I
taking the
asked you the
money?
question.
All right, I'm
Question
gonna
two
be
is
honest with you.
Bogarts or
I'm
Judge?
gonna punt, and I would rather, in all honesty, keep Devers and keep Bogarts because I believe that side of the infield
You realize
is
though?
proven.
Yeah.
Yes, because I
Oh, let
believe
me
you.
finish. Let
I
me finish.
I
Let me
believe
finish.
you can
Hey,
get it.
hold on.
That's
Let me
all.
finish. Let me finish the statement to you because
Yeah.
you do realize that it's very likely that if they do that, Xander Bogaerts likely becomes your next first baseman in 2 to 3 years. Not Rafael Devers. I would see Bogaerts probably moving over.
That's fine because that means the kid that's coming up in the system, the shortstop that they're all talking about, has a place to go.
Okay, so you answered my question then. Because the question they posed was, would you sign Bogaerts or would you sign Judge? And they made the comment that Hein Bloom doesn't like Bogaerts. That's where I am. I've been very upfront about it. I want them to sign Bogaerts.
Where is it saying that Hein Bloom doesn't like
They made that
Bogarts?
comment today on Maz and Felga made that comment today.
Really, I didn't.
Oh, that's because Hein Bloom doesn't like Bogaerts. Whether it's true or not, but the point is that was the comment today. And then they started talking about, well, you're the Red Sox, you can go out and buy, you can still have this mega team, and you can still go sign a Shohei Ohtani.
Well, they got a lot of money freeing up. Think about it. They got Evaldi coming off the books. They got what could be the best catcher in the league, which is Vasquez, coming off the books.
Would you say the
what? You got JD Martinez.
Wait. Can you repeat that again? The what catcher in the league?
Probably the best catcher in the league in Christian Vasquez.
Best behind the plate catcher in the league?
Yeah.
You really think Christian Vasquez is the best catcher in the league?
I don't go upon what I say. I go upon what my eyes and what a lot of people in the league say.
Are we talking about someone who can call a game or someone who can hit? Because he ain't the best overall catcher in the league. Maybe the best behind the plate calling a game, but he sucks as a hitter.
Really? That's why this year he's hitting high 300s. Last year he hit
high
well into
300s. Hold on. Yes, hold on.
I believe Vasquez is hitting I believe Vasquez is hitting 302.
Let's see this. I gotta see this. Hold on. Hey Siri. Okay, you're not working. You don't listen to me either, Siri. Siri sucks. Christian Vasquez. There it is.
All you got to do is put up Red Sox batting averages for 2022.
Why am I looking up Christian Vasquez? Yeah, you're right. Good point. Boston Red Sox 2022. Let's see if the Rumble of Boston Rumble. Jesus Christ.
You're a fucking nitwit.
Boston Red Sox 2022. Stats. Here we go. Stats. Come on. Now my kid's calling me, being a pain in my ass. Hold on. Christian Vasquez. Let me see it. Where's it? No, there's no batting average here. Are you shitting me?
All right, let me get this up.
Batting average 278. Get the fuck out of here, 300s.
I thought he was hitting 307. Still, 278 for a catcher with the Red Sox historically, and he's been batting this well for the past 4 years.
Hey, Beckett 1 year was just over 300, but I know what you mean. I think Vasquez is a great caller. I don't know about a hitter though. He's an average hitter, but I don't know what to say.
I don't think he's an average hitter as far as catches go in today's game. A lot of catches hit low averages. It's not like it used to be. And Vasquez tilting towards 280. That's a strong catcher in today's game. So if anybody's out there, 12 strikeouts last game. Who had 12 strikeouts last game, Adam Jack Pelly?
Sorry about that. Dealing
It's
with
all right.
Drama.
Yeah, I hear you. It's all good.
So anyway, I don't know, man. You know, regardless, I think that if I had the choice, I mean, obviously, I want to re-sign Devers. I want to keep the core. I think they have a strong core, but I'm not Hein Bloom, and I'm not John Henry, and I don't have this messed up sense of being the most expensive team in all of Major League Sports, and yet not wanting to put the best possible team on the field and saying screw the luxury tax.
Yeah. So. Well, if you look at the Dodgers really don't have the best players at every position, but they got key players.
Dodgers spend ridiculous money though.
And depth. Yes, but they also have one of the best farm systems. And they were saying today that, well, the other day, not yesterday, I was going to bring this up, that the Red Sox are looking at trying to build a Dodgers model where they will have a high payroll and they will have role players along in the high payroll. That if you look, a lot of the role players that are coming along right now.
No.
So
we'll see. I mean, you're not going to know that for another 2 to 3 years to see what they do. But
see, I don't look at Bloom being all that bad.
Listen, Hein Bloom takes his orders from John Henry in Orange.
Yeah.
And John Henry has done this in the past. He did it with the Marlins. Marlins were the unbelievable team that won the World Series back in the early 2000s, and then he shit-canned it and turned it into a shit fest. The problem is with John Henry in the Boston Red Sox organization or ownership is they also want to own the Pittsburgh Penguins, they want to own Manchester United, and they want to charge the most expensive ticket in game in all of professional sports, not just Major League Baseball, but all of professional sports. And you don't want to put the very best product on the field with the best players. Like, I'm sorry, but when you remember this, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, that's what everyone said about the New York Yankees. Yeah, they have all the money. They have the Yes Network. They have this. They have an unlimited plethora, and they went out and they got every player possible, and they won World Series. And then the Red Sox spent money and finally competed and beat them.
Yeah, right? But if you look, some of their players, like a Kevin Millar, like a Bill Miller at third base, what was his name there? Number 12 with the long hair that played second base there for that couple of years. But anyways, you got Mankiewicz that played first base for a little with or whatnot. But you basically had a strong outfield, and you relied upon Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz and Jason Varitek.
Yeah, Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling. I mean,
Yep.
let's not forget
And yes,
Johnny Damon, and yet all those guys.
yeah, I'm just saying, but the role you had players that they just plug and played for like 2 year spans, 3 year spans, you know what I'm saying? Along with, you know, real staples like the Ramirez. After you had Johnny Damon, Jacoby Ellsbury stepped right in. That's what I mean. And I think the Red Sox can model that consistency again. Adam Jack Pelly puts up, and this is the reason why. No, there can never be a salary cap in baseball.
No, they can't. They should no, you can't. Because there's no way. I don't think you can because there's no way to establish a cap. I would love to see a salary cap, but there's a salary cap in football that means absolutely nothing. There's a salary cap in basketball that means absolutely nothing. There's a salary cap in hockey. Yes, it's much more to a cap, but there's still ways to exploit it. Baseball, the most overpaid players in the world. There's no way of doing it the right way.
I don't look at them. I wouldn't say that totally overpaid. They play a lot of games.
You're gonna sit there and tell me a guy needs to make $55
Hold
million
on. I don't believe that they should be paid as much as they are. But if you look at the ratio of their games played to other athletes in United States sports per game, I think it's numbers. I don't have them in front of me, but I'd say numbers would have to be consistently even to a certain extent with the game's top players. You know what I mean, per game. So say you got Bryce Harper's making $28 million, and shit, a guy like what's his name there, and John Wall, 37.8. I think he's making like 40 million next year because it's the last year of his contract with the Houston Rockets. You tell me who's making out better per game.
I don't know. I still think they're overpaid, bro. There's no need for someone to be.
I think there's plenty of sports. I think there's plenty of sports where you can consistently argue where there is a guy that's overpaid. And would I agree? I will agree with you that there is more guys that probably get top big time money in baseball. That's because the rosters are bigger. But I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much difference.
Hey, do me a favor. Just keep talking. I got to take a call real quick. Just keep going. I'm saying I'm Mike Mamuk. I'll be right back. 1 sec.
So Adam Jack Telly, you're out there tonight. Ohtani to me is definitely no meatballer. So yeah, I'm glad that you're right on board with my belief that Ohtani to me is like a not Nolan Ryan, not Roger Clemens, not Doc Gooden, but he is of that build and or mold. Anybody who's listening out there tonight, we're at the 30-minute mark tonight. Give a shout out to everybody out there on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We apologize that we are coming to you a evening later, and it's just myself. And let's just put it this way. We're going to end it. Where would I want it? I would like to see the Red Sox sign the two they have. because I think that as much as Aaron Judge's bat is a really good bat, I think when push comes to shove, come the end of that contract, you'll see him getting a lot more time on the inactive list than the active list, and the money will make out better for the athlete, quote unquote, player than it will for the organization. When it works out that way, it typically is not good for the fan. So, with that being said, I think I'm going to move on from the talk of the Boston Red Sox, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Boston Bruins. So when the number one Boston Bruins fan comes walking in, we can get this out of the way. He doesn't think it's much. I think it's a lot. I think right now, when you have free agency and the draft is right around the corner for hockey, you should be definitely worried about what's going on with your team, especially number one, you don't have a coach. B, number two, your legendary center, aka Patrice Bergeron, is basically, it's in flux right now. Who knows what's going to go on with the Bruins? What goes on? Does he sign? Does he go on to retire? You have a guy like Marchand injured. You have a guy like Charlie McAvoy. Both men will not be starting out the year. What if the team is already in a huge hole by that time, and they can't recover to get out, and it's basically a wash year? What could go on? Is it really serious? Is it that serious right now that the Bruins and New Jersey Devils, could it be right now in discussion for Pastrnak to go over to New Jersey in exchange to get the number 2 overall pick in this year's NHL draft of 2022? You know, only time will tell. So I'd like to point out a few things and maybe see if we got some interested. But the quite possible early candidates, as they would say, in Canadian lingo, the candidates, yeah, the candidates. Dave Quinn there, David Quinn has emerged as one of the early favorites, as the next head coach there, of the Boston Bruins. David Quinn. Let's see a little bit about what Quinn has to offer.
All right, where are we at?
We're done with the Red Sox. I was talking about the Bruins possibly having right Quinn. Now. I'm talking about the Bruins and the fact that right now we're realistically getting close to the time where free agency, the draft strategy, and things of that nature start to come up, and not having a head coach, being in limbo right now on where the lines or what lines they have, with Marchand injured, with Charlie McAvoy injured, with the possibility of having no Patrice Bergeron, and the hugest trade chip that the Bruins have right now, quite possibly being dangled in front of the New Jersey Devils for the second overall pick in this year's 2022 draft. And I'm glad you're back.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Bruins are going to trade Pastrnak because I've also heard the rumor of an 8-year deal by multiple sources that the Bruins are talking to Pastrnak about a potential long-term 8-year contract extension.
But it's also been told that he won't negotiate because he's not on the Don Sweeney bandwagon.
And multiple people have come out and said that's a false statement. Multiple people close to the Bruins have said that is a false statement. That statement's not true. And Pastrnak himself has said, no, that's not the case. So.
Okay.
Now,
so
we don't know.
Let's just say this. Yeah. Hear me real quick. Follow me next week.
Let's talk about the coach or the Pastrnak thing first. What do you want to do?
All right. I just want to talk about the what if situation, and this is maybe why they might actually look to entertain the Pastrnak thing. What if by the time all these guys are slated to come back and knowing that they really don't have nothing other than the guys that are theoretically injured, that when they get back, that they've already mathematically had all these nerds punch up the numbers on what could be, what if, this, that, and the other. Yeah. That the Bruins are that much out of it that even with the return of said players, that it could be a wash year, that quite possibly, and just hear me out, with the fact that you could probably let them rest a little longer, knowing that you got the second pick this year, and you know what I mean? And then what if you're able to get a top 3 or 4 next year?
Well,
and now you're able to basically, and I know you're like, Jay, it's Sweeney. Come on, kid. And I'm right there with you. Sweeney will fucking drop the ball. And then, you know what I mean? So do we trust the brain trust, or do we hope to just go with what we have, and that what we have playing at the time until what we have comes back off the injured list plays well enough to have us right there?
Pastrnak is what, 25, 26? You don't trade a 25, 26-year-old bona fide 40-goal plus a year goal scorer, potentially 50. Could have had 50 the year that they with COVID, right? He's a co-Rocket Rashad winner with that year. He co-won it with Ovechkin. You don't trade that kind of player. Not for a potential player in the draft, because nothing in the draft is the next Connor McDavid, the next Leon Draisaitl. Nobody is being talked about right now in the hockey draft. You know, no offense, Jack Eichel. What the fuck has he done? Not much. Yeah, no, he hasn't lived up. And let's remember, back in the day, how many number 1, number 2, number 3 picks never panned out in the NHL. I can think of 2. Yeah. Alexander Daig and Alexei Yashin. Both drafted by the Ottawa Senators. Both did nothing. Eric Lindros never came to the number 1 potential that he was supposed to be the second Gretzky. Never happened.
I think that had a lot to do that he was already beat up mentally already by the time he got to the concussion wise, also by the time he got to the NHL.
My point is they scored Pastrnak in the 23rd or 24th pick. You don't find players like, I mean, a near 50 goal scorer. Come on, you don't trade that. And if they do trade it,
no, I wouldn't. But if the Bruins the Bruins front office right now is thinking that next year they could have a potential top 5, and then this year have a number 2, maybe they're thinking that this thing is rebuilt and they're off and going and having players that they need.
Yeah, hear me out. You don't trade Pastrnak. You trade Brad Marchand if you're going to do that.
Brad Marchand ain't bringing you the 2nd pick overall from.
Why wouldn't? Of course he would. Brad Marchand, he's a top 10 player in the league.
I think his age is what's not gonna get you to get him to New Jersey.
Yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't do it. So
I know you wouldn't do it.
Let's talk about
All right. So one of the emerging names right now is Dave Quinn.
Yeah, former or the assistant coach of the former assistant coach of the New York Rangers. Spent 3 years with the Rangers. Sorry, he was the former head coach of the Rangers, I believe.
Yes. He was at the Rangers 17 through 21. He posted a 96 and 87 25 record.
That's not I mean, it's a winning record, but not
522 behind the bench. And his only playoff experience came inside the Toronto bubble, where his Rangers are 0-3 in qualifying. The Rangers ultimately, what?
I said, yep.
And so, yeah. Since he served as a coach for the U.S. men's national team, and he coached the team in the 2022 Beijing Olympics, and then again at the World Championships. With Quinn at the helm, the Americans finished 5th in the Olympics, 4th at the Worlds. In Boston, Quinn's most notable run came as the head coach of the Boston University Terriers, where he was 159 and 20. As well, he had a national championship appearance in 2015, and 5 seasons behind at BU. Blah blah blah. He had a blue line that featured current Bees defenseman Matt Grishlick as what's his name there? Andy Brinkley says Matt Grishlick and Charlie McAvoy. Incredible.
Yeah,
and in addition, he had forwards Mark McLaughlin and goaltender Jeremy Swayman have experience playing for Quinn during his aforementioned tenure as the coach of the men's national team.
Yeah. So, my thoughts on this are this. They better find a coach soon. Whether it's Quinn, Leach, Kelly, they need to find someone soon to get him behind the bench. Because free agency's right around the corner, and then it's not looking good for the Bruins. And I'll tell you right now, my last statement on the Bruins is I'm concerned. And that's where I'm at.
Buddy, I'm not even as invested as you are. I am a Red Sox fan. I bleed them. This is what concerns me about the Bruins. I may not watch them as much. I may not wear their merch as much, but every day when I go to school, my thermos mug is a Bruins mug.
Yep.
I do represent my Bruins. Like I said, I like to I follow the statistics and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Or if there's a game, like I do put it on, but I'm not.
I know you do.
I'm not hugely indulged until right around that after All-Star break. And in normal years with the Celtics, I do the same thing. I'll watch the first few minutes but there was just something about this year's Celtics team that I probably watched almost every minute, except for the, Now let's talk Patriots, and then we'll get into the Celtics.
Talk about the Patriots. Let's go right to
quick
the Celtics.
Patriots moment. Let me just talk about the offensive line switch that was.
We already talked about that.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we talked.
All right, let's talk about the one good thing about the Patriots. The Patriots today, or yesterday, released on their website they are bringing back the red throwback uniform with the white helmet with Pat Patriot for this year's Patriots season. What do you think about that, Capelli?
I think it ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna make them win or lose the game. That's all I think.
Yeah, But what do you think is a look? Are you a fan of the old school look?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I like it, but it's just a look, man. Tom Brady threw for 6 touchdowns the last time they wore that uniform. So
I really would have liked to have seen the comeback of the famous Drew Bledsoe blue double stripe.
yeah,
Oh, that was a beautiful shirt, dude.
not great. It wasn't a. I liked it, but I wasn't. I'm not looking at the uniforms better as they moved on. Not a great. I can see why they got rid of it. But
Oh yeah, but I think it would be just awesome to have that shirt for one day.
but
The
it
money
did.
they would
I
the
found
money
it.
the NFL would make off of it.
One thing I'd say before we move on, I found it funny that Brady made the put up the post once the Patriots announced it. He put up a meme, and it was Jim Carrey from Liar Liar, like come on, like, and they said, it was Brady's way of saying he wished he got more time to wear that, which was, but a few more times, but it was cool to see Brady, acknowledge it in a funny way.
I'd like to see Tampa come out this year and wear their throwback.
Oh, no, 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 no. All right, enough of this conversation. That is the ugliest uniform ever. Let's just move on.
Beautiful. I love the greens and the
Let's
orange.
move on to the fucking team. Hey, listen, I predicted it 6 games, just the wrong team.
Yep. And
I
I'm not.
don't even want to talk about the loss. I think we both can agree that team got they showed that they just weren't ready to be the man.
Yep.
And someone said it on the radio. They played like they were just happy to be there versus playing like they wanted it. That's where it ends. So I think, look, they lost in 6. It was a terrible loss.
I think that they felt that they were going to win, and then all of a sudden said, "Whoa, we're not supposed to do this to Seth Curry. We're not
No,
supposed
I
to
don't.
beat him."
I think they
Buddy,
thought.
there was a point in that game you cannot tell me they had that.
What game?
I believe
They
it was
didn't have game
game. They
6.
had game. They were if they didn't play that shitty quarter in game 4, I believe it was. They would have been the team that was up 3. That they would have been the team that was up game 5. They should have.
My opinion on that was they played like the team that was. They were too much in awe of, oh my God, we're in the finals. That's what it felt like. They were starstruck to be in the finals, and it showed. It showed.
I
But
think Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum flat out just shit himself.
Jason, do you mean Jason Taint? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he did. He shit himself. You know what? Jason Tatum showed that you can be all NBA and whatever he is, but I'm going to let Judge come to the Sox. But he's not. You know what? He may be a great player, but he's not. But he's shown that he's not. He's not in that caliber yet. I'm sorry, he's not. You know what? He's not becoming star, but he's not. He's not a Steph Curry. He's not a Kevin Durant. He's not a LeBron. But he's not a LeBron James. He's not that player that can lead that team. He's not a Tim Duncan.
I'll tell you this. How's about the only characteristic he has of LeBron James, and this is a huge thing with a lot of the kids. A lot of the kids in this generation have, and that's called the give up gene. And he gave up when he knew I'm just sorry. The fact that he didn't want to have that ball in his hands when it mattered most, to me that's a form of giving up. And and LeBron James has notably given up in worser ways. When the going gets tough, 2008, he pulled his jersey off, left the court, and TD Bank North got it because he knew the Celtics had the better of him.
Yep, and the GOAT will always be Michael Jordan because he demanded the ball. How many shots? Again, but anyways, so let's talk. Let's talk more about. You said it about. You mentioned to me prior to coming live the talk of the deconstruction of this team, and I don't see that.
All right, let me just say one meme I said that I saw was really nice.
Was Bradley Beal?
No. Was all step this aside from it was how when LeBron won his last championship, he said, "And now I deserve my respect." And they go, "This is the characteristic of a selfish player." And then it was Steph Curry. His thing when he said at the podium was it was all like a team thing that he couldn't believe the team pulled, and then it just showed that how compared the both of them to as transcending NBA athletes, how one theoretically, and I notice it more that LeBron James he's a selfish athlete.
Oh yeah, he is. Of course, he's a selfish athlete, and that's why. I mean, listen. Magic was never selfish. Bird was never selfish. Isaiah Thomas wasn't selfish. I mean, they were selfish to a point, but they were team players. MJ was a team player. I mean, that's why I think people will never respect LeBron James because he's too selfish. And my problem with Jason Tatum is I think Jason Tatum wants all the accolades given to him. And he wants to be deemed one of the best in the league, but he hasn't proved it. I mean, Jaylen Brown had more fight than him than Tatum, and Tatum's got more talent.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will say this: Tatum, if Kobe Bryant was alive today, yes, but I mean, just by him wearing sneakers that were in tribute to Kobe, wearing that wristband up on his arm that was the yellow,
I know.
Lakers yellow with the purple 24, like there's a side of me that I'll say this right to you. My son loves him. My son doesn't understand the thought process that goes through my brain. I was just starting to go to the side of liking the quote unquote newer Celtic generation because I felt that like it was hard enough for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett grab. I like Kevin Garnett more than I like any of those guys during that era. Even
me too.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like I like Paul Pierce, but like I'm a Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish era, and so which means is I hate LA just like I hate the New York Yankees because that's the way. That's what I grew up. That's the way I grew up. I never forget this. And this is off the kilter, but I never forget going and helping Joel Davis when he did his MMA thing. And I went to a couple of his training things. And then I went with him and I was in his corner at his first ever fight. And I thought it was bullshit that he shook the guy's hand that he was going to fight. And the other two guys that were in his corner go, no, you're going to let that happen. I was like, how the hell are you supposed to fucking let two guys love each other when they're going to go out there and beat the shit out of each other?
Yeah, because there's a mutual respect. You have to understand that.
I get there's a mutual respect, but listen, hold up. This is a battle of one-on-one. Right. And this is just, I have a different mind makeup than you would, because I do have a few years on you. And the way that I'm going to be 50.
Like that much older. You only got a couple years on me. It's not that big of a difference, my friend. I'm 46.
My mentality was to never, ever, even if the guy was my friend, I never was to acknowledge him until after the game.
Okay, so but what are we getting at here? We're talking about the Boston Celtics here.
So my thing is there's too many guys that play NBA basketball that look to love each other instead of getting down to the nitty-gritty and playing. And
a different
when
game, friend.
yeah, I get
you.
you. That Magic
Different game.
and Isaiah Thomas say it best. They trained together. They were friends in college and stuff like that. They played on some all-star
Magic and
teams.
Bird were best friends, but they were enemies on the court. But
Yes.
But you remember, there's that famous thing in the playoffs where they go and tap wrist before the game starts. But that's what that's what you do. But look, the game is different, my friend. The game is different. Tatum grew up. Paul Pierce grew up a Lakers fan.
Yep, but Paul Pierce where's Paul Pierce? Is he watching Lakers games, or does he come to or is he courts? That's right.
Because he became a Celtics.
Now he became a Celtic. Yeah, that's right. He became a Celtic fan.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Jason Tatum was not going to be a Celtic the rest of his life. Jason Tatum's going to put down the green and pick up the purple. Trust me. He'll say it's his lifelong goal to be his dream come true. He will be a Los Angeles Laker.
So that's why would you, if tomorrow keeping Jaylen Brown, acquiring Bradley Beal, the loss of Robert Williams and said couple other players, then taking Jason Tatum, turning it around and sending him to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis?
No, Anthony Davis means nothing to me. He's not the Anthony Davis that he was.
It's just my question to you.
No, listen. You have to capitalize. My point is, and this is what we kind of were talking about. I would capitalize on the window of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum while we have them. Make a deal to get a Bradley Beal, if that means a Marcus Smart, if that means a Robert Williams, if that means.
Oh, see, the one thing is I'm going to say this. I don't mind the Marcus Smart thing.
You just said Robert.
Okay. But the thing is if Robert Williams was to go and know that I got Anthony Davis, when healthy, the best big in the whole NBA with Jaylen Brown and Bradley Beal, and say you got a guy that could go in the.
Bradley Beal, you don't have a shooter like Jason Tatum, though.
Yeah.
So here's my thing.
I'm not sold. After seeing the playoffs, Jason Tatum is going to have to come back this season and really sell me that I know he's a legit all-star, but he's going to come back and prove to me that he's legit top 5 games on the line, and he's the man.
I think, again, the question was, what would I do? You capitalize now, and then you let Tatum walk. You capitalize for the 2 years, and you just let him walk. You're not going to get, that's the thing. You capitalize for the next 2 years, and then you trade him. But you got to keep him for 2 years. I'd like to see Bradley Beal come to Boston. Absolutely. Can it happen? I don't know.
I've been watching a lot of the numbers. It's the numbers. It's a better off thing if it's not something straight up, because you lose a lot more. It's a better off thing if it was a sign and trade.
Here's the deal.
They broke down the numbers last night on.
I saw it. I saw that. The thing is the Celtics need to not worry about the luxury tax in basketball and just blow it. They just go over the luxury tax. The Golden State Warriors, their payroll is $340 million.
Yeah, they went over that. They
doubled the salary cap. They doubled it, and I think their luxury tax was $140 million in the luxury tax.
Yeah,
they said they don't care. They just paid it. You have the money, just go and do it. Now, I don't know if the Boston Celtics are pulling in the same numbers as the Golden State Warriors, but you just got to go and do it, man. Again, same thing the Red Sox problem. Just go and spend the money. Go get them. Just do what it takes to get a Bradley Beal. Go and get him. Screw it. Go win Banner 18 and then demolish the team, because that's what they're going to wind up doing anyways. Would I trade Marcus Smart? Absolutely. I don't ever see Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year again. I think he had a great year, but I also think Marcus Smart still never will ever understand his role on the team. And I do think Jaylen Brown is more of a Celtic than Jason Tatum.
Yes.
But Jaylen Brown has what is it? Kanye West and his group are his agents, and they're already saying that they're a bunch that, you know, who knows where they come out of left field, and they may tell him, no, you can't sign. You got to go become a free agent. Who knows? All I know is you got 2 years. You got to capitalize on it in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So the Celtics, I believe, the only thing, if I was going to tinker with anything, I believe they could add free agent bench depth. If I had to take one or two players off the bench along with Marcus Smart in order to get the quality style of point guard that would most benefit the Boston Celtics, I would go that route. And I think where the Celtics hurt most was having people that could come off the bench and really give them the points and things that they were needed. I don't think we haven't even scratched the surface of seeing what a healthy Robert Williams. I'd be willing to let go this be the last year of an Al Horford. But if you could get me a legit point guard upgrade, I would take that in a heartbeat. Like, if you tell me you can get me a legit point, if they could just sign everything and Marcus Smart came off the bench, which that's what he theoretically should be, is he should be a sixth player, and he comes out as the defensive guy to shut down everything. You know what I mean? At those spelled roles. And then you got a guy that's coming off the bench along with Marcus Smart that can shoot the ball, because Naismith just hasn't been able to do it. Peyton Pritchard, you thought, was going to be able to do it. The Celtics right now, believe it or not, have, I think they were saying, between Marcus Smart, Peyton Pritchard, and Derek White is almost $60 million between the three. And that's a point guard. So you cannot tell me, minus two of those guys, you can't keep Smart and have a guy at the $40 million a year role that's a legit point guard.
You could trade the best defense. You can trade the defensive player of the year with who has a little bit.
What if they didn't have to? What if all they had to do was trade another one of their number one, another first round, a guy like a Williams, not Robert Williams, but a guy like.
But hear me out for a second.
Williams, and just let me finish, and then you can go. You trade like a number one draft choice, one of the Williams guys, there, Grant Williams, a Peyton Pritchard, and a Naismith to Houston, and you picked up a guy like a John Wall, who this year makes $41 million.
That's never going to happen. Number one, because you know that's not that. Why would Houston do that? Number one. Number two, right? Again, it goes back to Marcus Smart does not know his role on this team. He is still part of. I feel at the end of the day, he's more toxic for the team overall chemistry because he doesn't know when to give up the ball. He shoots too much, and then it's just I don't know. Like again, I love Marcus Smart. I just don't know if he's meant for the mentality of this team's makeup.
The Celtics need a true point guard. That's what they need.
Oh, I agree.
Marcus Smart's not a true point guard. But
They
if you
had
could
one.
keep
Hey,
it, if you could,
it was Isaiah Thomas.
yeah, if you could keep him, yep. If you could keep him as a sixth man coming off the bench and still get prototypically what you were looking through free agency and draft equity, meaning some of the younger guys that you have, I'd be willing to look at that, because it's just me. I know that like, I'm not a huge Marcus Smart offensive guy, but when it comes to defense, man, he gets under your skin.
I get it.
And
Listen,
I think that I just, if there's a way you can tell me that he's coming off your bench and you got a legit point guard and didn't have to give up somebody like a Robert Williams, I'm willing to listen, my friend.
well, it remains to be seen, my friend. It remains to be seen.
So I really don't think they should blow things up. I think tweaks is what
Well, you
needs to
can't
be
you can't
done.
blow up that team. If you blow it
No,
up, it's over and done with. And I agree. But I want to see what happens. It'll be interesting to
I
see
want to
what
see a
happens
full
next.
year. I want to see a full year of Robert Williams with these guys. I'll take one. I'm willing to take another year of Big Al. But I think what's going to happen if they do go another year with Big Al, Grant Williams has proved he's really no, I'm sorry. He's he's not a true answer if you really need a legit backup power forward,
I agree.
aka center. I don't think Tice has what it takes. I think that's why I believe the Celtics need to upgrade there. The Celtics need to upgrade as far as a legit guy coming off the bench that can shoot it. And if the Celtics can upgrade and get a legit point guard, and if that means you have to get rid of Derek White and or Marcus Smart, I'm willing to do that. But I'm telling you this. I believe if the Celtics with a true point guard, with a healthy Robert Williams for the full year, seeing what they've done this year, if you have a person like Tatum who leads the we were there and now we're on a mission with that type of mindset, and it trickles down, I believe the Boston Celtics will be an incredibly interesting team in the East, especially because I've I like Middleton is the only thing that you can tell me that keeps Milwaukee relevant, that makes it anything good. You got the legitimate uh proposal now of the Brooklyn Nets, quite possibly not only giving up on Kyrie, but get rid of Kevin Durant, which puts them back into mediocrity. So
Where, where,
the East
oh, let me
becomes an
where would Durant,
open book
go?
again. Go on.
Where would Durant go?
They're talking right now Durant going to Dallas to be with Luka.
Let me ask you one. All right, so I want to end it on this question for you to open up the show next week. Okay, we're gonna open the show next week. I want to open the show off of this question. Hypothetical, if it's possible, Kevin Durant wearing a Celtic green. Can it happen, and how would we get there? That's to start our show next week. Let's talk about that. To start the show next week. Can the Celtics, because I heard about Kevin Durant, but what if Kevin Durant came here? It almost happened once. Can't happen again. How could it happen? What would it take? And would it work?
Do you know the one reason why I'll put validity to that? Because last year at the Olympics,
I know
Durant, along with the three other Celtics, meaning Smart, Tatum, and Brown, they formed a really tight bond with Kevin Durant.
Leave it at that.
So I'll leave it at that.
Open it for next week. Mark it down. That's what we're going to start with.
All right.
All right.
All right. So everyone, we want to thank you for a great episode 8, and I think next week we're gonna do every other week. Me and you are gonna do a little wrestling to catch up, because there's been some interesting headlines, and I'd love to pick your brain, especially if you're not able to get on this weekend with us. So, anyways, I want to thank everybody listening on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Just got to say this real quick before we finish it up. Next week, we got to talk about the return at the front office of the game, Triple H. Next week, though. Next week.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that. We got no problem. The Sports Center talks about it. We'll talk about it. So I'm Rumble.
I'm the Gazoo.
And once again, we talk sports better than you. We'll see you all next week here. As always, we try to come on Wednesdays. This week it was a Thursday. And have a great one.
Later.
Thank you to Tribal Wisdom for this awesome opener and closer.